ready for it? Here it goes. We do graph lines. Now, yes, yesterday we talked about lines. We talked about the department of redundancy department. Right? What are lines in terms of a shape? All lines are straight. All lines are straight. So how are we going to draw lines on our graph?
The rulers.
With a rule, but if we don't have a ruler, okay? So ideally we would have a ruler, okay? But not everybody has a ruler. So how can we make these lines be straight? Because where we're getting to with this, we gotta be fairly accurate with these lines because we gotta get an intersection point. That intersection point is the intersection. So what else can we use if we don't have a ruler? What? We can use an ID or a license. Yeah. We can use the edge of a binder. You pulled it up. Sitting in front of you. You can use the edge of your phone because some people have the nice straight edges on their phone. Yes. Okay. We can get uber fancy. We can bend a piece of paper. You can bend a piece of paper over that you're looking at. Okay. So there's many, many ways that we can get straight lines. What I don't want, and what I will tell you right now, that I will be taking off for, if like on this homework, backside of the purple homework, test or formative tomorrow, something like that. Okay, so if my okay, and it's supposed to be a straight line, and I see this. Oops, I double tapped it. And I see that, and it's supposed to be a line. I'm telling you right now, I will mark off. Okay? Okay? That's just being lazy. Okay? Let me be lazy. That's you. You're too young to be lazy. Okay? Let's do this. So we're graphing lines today. Okay? So there are three different forms for the equation of a line. Okay? Now, you're going to need to know at some point in time those three equations. You just got to know. The first one is the one that you probably know the most. Y equals mx plus b. We call that the slope-intercept form of a line because it gives you the slope, that's the m part. We talked about that yesterday also. But it also gives you the y-intercept, that's the b. 9 times out of 10, it will also be the form of your answer. So if your answer doesn't say, give it to me in this specific form, then usually you will give it y equals mx plus b. The second one is the point slope form of a line. And it is, just as it says, this form is a great tool to have in your toolbox. Okay? If you have a point and the slope, or if you have 2 points that are, you can use it to find the equation of the line. And the last one is called standard form of a line. Standard form is used in higher level maths because it is the cleanest of them all, but it also gives you the least amount of information. With the point slope form of a line, you can know one of the points that it goes through, and you know the slope. With the slope-intercept form of a line, you know where it crosses the y-axis and its slope. In standard form, you don't get any of that given to you. You gotta find it all. But the kicker is, because it comes with more rules, the first rule is this right here: no fractions or decimals. So it's all integers. Okay? Some mathies, some mathematicians say that A needs to be positive in standard form. This number right here in front of the x, the leading coefficient. Okay? I'm indifferent. I'm not going to take off the other negative. But just know that that might not always be the case. Any questions on the three different forms of line? Now, you will be given equations in all three forms, and then you will be asked to graph the line. It is easiest to graph the line in slope-intercept form. So if you take your equation and you solve it for y, that is the easiest way to go about graphing it. But that's not the only way to go about graphing it. Okay? There are others. So that first way, again, was y equal mx plus b. So you would graph, or you would plot, let's plot the point 0, comma, b. Then you would use the fact that the slope is your rise over run. You guys told me that yesterday. Rise over run is slope. To find more points. And then we drop a line. Usually something straight. That's when you're in class, I got a whole bucket full of rulers. If we want to use those in class. So we have that. Okay? So that's way number one. Way number two. Make yourself a t-chart. Pick some x's, plug it into the equation that you've got, get out some y's, or you can even plug some y's into your equation and get out some x's. Doesn't matter. But you would want to do at least like 2 or 3, preferably 3 or 4. And then that's going to give you points that are on the line. And then you connect them again using something straight. That's a way. That's a method. Another method is you can use the intercept method. Meaning you can find the x-intercept, find the y-intercept, and you can use those 2 points, connect those 2 points, and that gives you the line. The downfall with this method, okay? The other 2 methods work 100% of the time, every time. Okay? The downfall of this method, of the intercept method, is you might have a fractional x or y intercept, and then that's not so nice. Okay? But they work, still works. Okay? So the 2 intercepts that you need to find, or that you would be finding, is you would find the x-intercept. Now the x-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis, or excuse me, the x-axis. So that would be where y is 0. So you would substitute 0 in for y, and then solve for x. And that would give you the x-intercept, which is going to be of the form some number, comma, 0. Okay? Then we also got the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis, or so that's where x is 0. So we would plug in 0 for x and then solve the y. That one's going to take the form of 0, comma, some number. Okay? We ready? All right, let's grab some lines. Okay. Now, lines could be in y equals mx plus b form. That's equation form. Okay? Or some crazy combination thereof. But lines can also be in function notation. F of x equals 3x plus 2, where the f of x is like our y. Okay? Doesn't matter which one. Now, I've got 3 examples that I want to do today. If you want to do those 3 examples on your pink piece of graph paper, this would be good to switch over to that. Okay? I've got 3 examples to do today. I would like to do one of each of the 3 methods. So one t-chart method, one y equals mx plus b method, and one intercept method. Okay? I don't care which one we do of which. How do you want to do this one? Y equals mx plus b? Okay, for that method? Okay. So if we do this y equals mx plus b, then that is saying that this value right here is my b. Agree with that? So that would be a y-intercept of positive 2. So I would go up 2 from the origin, and I would put a dot right there. This is saying that the slope of this line is 3. So that's a rise over run of 3, which means I would go up 3 and right 1. And I would put another dot. 1, 2, and 3, right 1. 1, 2, and 3, right 1. Can't go 3 more, so I don't want to go that way. Okay? Or I could go down 3 and left 1. 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 Okay? Now, when I go to draw this graph, I want you to draw said graph all the way across your graph. And the reason that I want you to get into that habit of drawing all the way across your graph is because when we get into solving systems of equations by graphing, we don't know where that intersection point is going to happen. So we've got to draw it all the way across the graph. So I want you to get into practice of doing that. Early. This is early. Okay. Good on that one? Love it. Excited to be part of it. Okay. We want to graph this one. Another tweak of the problem would be, we want to graph this equation, but we also want to have a separate spot for you to tell me what the y-intercept and the slope is. Okay? How do you want to go about graphing this one? We have intercept method and we have t-chart method left over. Doesn't matter to me. Intercept or t-chart, right? Intercept method? Okay. All right. So if I'm doing the intercept method, then I'm first going to find the x-intercept, and that is where y is equal to 0. So I would say 0 equals negative 2x plus 3. Subtract 3 from both sides, or we could have added 2x to both sides. Either way. Talk to me, Goose. Okay. Glad I could answer your question. That's what I do. So I get 3 halves here is my x-intercept. Which means, I'm going to move my graph over to the other side. Which means that this goes through the point 3 halves, comma, 0, which is 1.5, comma, 0. Okay. Then I need to find my y-intercept. That is where x is equal to 0. So that's going to be y equals negative 2 times 0 plus 3. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. So that is going to be of the form 0, comma 3, which also happens to satisfy that one. 3 is right there. Then you can draw your line. Again, going all the way across. The last thing we got to do is we just got to figure out what the slope of our line is, and based off of my original equation, or based off of my graph right now, rise over run, I went down 2 and right 1. That tells me that the slope of this line is negative 2. And just negative 2. The slope does not have a variable attached to it. Just negative 2. Just enough. Questions on that one?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, so, what if the y equals 0?
Because that's how you find the intersection. We chose, because that was one of the three methods.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to, later on, no, you don't have to.
Okay, so I can just use
Yep.
the y
Yep.
equals m.
Yep, go with your gut. Yep. I'm just giving you options. That's the only reason why. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yes, ma'am. How I found the slope?
Yeah.
So off of the graph or out of the equation? Either one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
the
the
graph.
equation is in y equals mx plus b,
Well, the
right?
graph.
Right, but so I knew it's -2 going in. Okay, right? So off of the graph, I look for points that it goes through, right? So it went through. I knew it went through the point 0, comma. Okay. So then I counted my rise over run, right? So I went down 2 and right 1. Okay. Yep. And so then that way, the down 2 is the negative part, or -2, and the over 1 is 1, so -2 over 1. Yep. Stop yelling at me. Okay. All right. So this one needs the x and the y intercepts, and I'm also going to show you how to do it in a little bit of a different method too. The method that we have left to do is t-chart, right? Okay. Well, you can find the intercepts using a t-chart same way. Okay. So I make myself a t-chart. Now, my x-intercept is going to be where y equals 0, right? So I can plug 0 in for y in my to find my x-intercept. My y-intercept is where x is 0, and I can plug that one in. And then I can just pick some other random type number, right? Okay? So, like, I don't know, give me a number between -10 and +10. 5. Okay? So we can just pick some other random number, so we get 3 points. Okay? And we can either have x be 5, or we can have y be 5. It don't matter. Okay? Right? So now what we've got to do is we've got to move some stuff around. Okay? So we've got to plug in y is 0. Well, if I plug in y is 0 here, that means that this term right there goes away. So then I get 2x minus 6 times 0. 6 times 0 is 0, right? So that's gone, equals -12. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is -6. So my x-intercept is the point -6, comma 0. To find my y-intercept, I can plug in 0 for x. 2 times 0 is 0. Minus 6y is -6y equals -12. Divide both sides by -6, and I get y is 2. So I go through the point 0, comma 2. Then to find that third one, I'm just going to plug in 5 now for x. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract 10 from both sides. divide by -6. What's that? 11/3? 11/3 is 3 2/3, right? So 1, 2, 3, and somewhere right up in there. And it falls in line. Then I can draw my line. And shabam, we've answered all the questions that we needed to, and we've wrapped it up. Thus concludes today's lesson. You have plenty of time today to be working on, I think it was purple leaf this week. Okay? Hold on, let me finish. Work on the purple. Tomorrow you will be taking a formative in class and having great, grand, and wonderful fun.